Welcome back to Higurashi. So, this is going to be the final episode of Chapter 1, Onikakushi. I don't know how long exactly this is going to be, but we're going to spend some of this episode doing this all-cast review session, whatever this is. I don't know how long it's going to be. It might be just like 15 minutes. It might be a really long time. I don't know. But we're going to spend the rest of that time going into complete detail. I've taken a whole bunch of notes. I've kind of organized them. I did things like as I was going through them this time instead of like having to like rewatch everything like I did with Umineko. So it's much more organized this time. So I'm going to have a lot to talk about after this all-cast review. So let's just dive right into this, shall we?
Higurashi の泣く頃にCh.1 Onikakushiをプレイされた皆さん、お疲れ様でした。いかがだったでしょうか?
It was pretty good, I guess.
ちょっぴりでも楽しんでもらえたらとっても嬉しいです。ちょっぴりも何も。
Let's just say I don't want my money back.
あんなすごいバッドエンドで終わられたらプンプンでございますことよ。プンプンなのです。今回の鬼隠しは全体の謎に挑む人たちが最初に通るお話だから、実質上のプロローグの位置づけなんだって。
Yeah, so I think it's similar to Umineko in that respect.
そのプロローグがこんな凄まじいバッドエンドでございますの？
でもそういうのってあるじゃん。この最悪のバッドエンドを回避するためにプレイヤーさんが物語を模索していくのがこの作品の醍醐味だし。
Although usually it's your own choices that lead you to those bad ends, and then you kind of like take the choices that avoid those ends. But this time, it's like, I guess the choices are made for you, and all you can do is just keep playing, really.
まだ始まったばかりですよ。僕は次のお話が楽しみなのです。
これからどんな話が待ち受けてるんだろ
う。Well, from what I've seen, like on the Steam page and everything, the next chapter does seem to focus more on Mion, I think. So, that'll be interesting.
レナは聞いてる？
今回はレナをパートナーに選んだ物語だったけど、他にもみーちゃん、さとこちゃんをパートナーに選んだお話もあるみたいだね。
Well, there you go. She's just telling us that right now, too.
他のシナリオにはどんな展開があるんですの？今回の鬼隠しでは、ひなみ沢で近年起こった連続開始事件が紹介されたでしょ？
Okay, well don't just like spoil what they're gonna introduce next time.
例えば、みーちゃんのシナリオでは、ひなみ沢の古い歴史なんかが紹介されるんだって。
But yeah, that's fine. They've already kind of gone into that a little bit, but I'll be interested to see what kind of stuff we get in more detail of that.
異常事態の連続ですっかりわかんなくなっちゃったけど、お社様のたたりってどういうものなのか。
Oh, we will be talking about that, for sure.
いや、そもそもお社様って何なのかあまり説明なかったからね。
よくは聞いてないんだけど、でもなんか嫌な予感。またしてもたたられそうな嫌な物語です。
ケイちゃんも大変だね。今度はどんなたたりにやられるやら。
でもどんなお話になるのか楽しみでございますわね。
いや遅れてすみませんね。
やあみんな、お疲れ様。
お疲れ。あれ、ケイちゃんは？
ケイチ君はもう次のシナリオの台本読みに行っちゃってるんだよ。
Wait, what? That's not fair.
主人公だから大変だね。
Oh, right, I guess he has to... Okay, so like they're treating this as like they're all actors. And he's reading the script for his next gig, I guess.
あれ、残念ですね。ちょっとだけでも顔を出してくれればよかったのに。きっと喋るワード数が多すぎて居残りなのです。
そりゃフルデさん仕方がありませんよ。前原さんのセリフだけで普通のアドベンチャーゲームなら全員分の量がありますからね。
しかしケイチ君やレナちゃんなんか特にだけど大変なお話だったね。
At least that's like a hard confirmation that we haven't seen the last of Keiichi. Like, obviously they're not just gonna continue off with him dead, and like, they're not gonna just not have any more of him. Because I did like Keiichi, so.
大変も何も大体バッドエンドでございますわ。結局、ケイチ君を襲ったのって正体は何なんだろう。
What thing that attacked him? There was nothing that attacked him.
たたりに見せかけておいて実は人間の仕業ってのが僕の推理なんだけどね。
Exactly.
でもケイチは最後に謎の電話をかけてきていましたのです。
うん。私もあの電話は変だと思ったね。あの時点でケイちゃんは犯人は人間だと確信してたはずなのにさ。
But I think at that point he may have been under the influence of the drug that he may or may not have been injected with. Well, we'll get into that later.
おかしな電話でしたわよね。なんかお化けに追いかけられてるみたいな。あの電話だけだとやっぱり犯人って人間じゃなくてたたりなのかなって思っちゃうよね。
Well, I think at least he probably thought that he was being chased by a ghost.
せっかくですから意見を出してみようじゃありませんか。じゃあ園崎さんから。
私は絶対に人間説。ひなみ沢の怪しい昔語りかなんかになぞらえて誰かが起こしてる人為的事件だと思うね。
I mean, it's weird hearing that come out of her mouth because I think that if there is such an incident or is such a conspiracy going on, she would have to be pretty heavily involved in it.
確かに毎年お祭りの日になると起こる連続開始事件なんて怪しいもんね。
その連続開始っていうのも何かの昔語りの再現なんだよきっと。
私はたたりだと思いましたよ。玄関で圭一さんが暴れたシーンとかラストの電話のシーンとかを見れば人間が犯人では説明がつきませんもの。
I think they totally can. Like the one where he went berserk, like, yeah, he felt like or he heard someone's hair or something like that, but I think that's easily explained as like an auditory hallucination caused by stress, so it's not that big of a deal. Like,
そういえばそうだよね。とても人間の仕業とは思えないシーンだったし。
僕はそれでも人間が犯人だと思うね。あの玄関やラストのシーンは追い詰められたケイチ君の被害意識からの妄想じゃないかって思うんだ。
but damn it, I hate it when I have a theory or something and then they say it. It just makes me lose all confidence in that theory. Like, because it's like there's no way they're just gonna give it away, but I mean, I guess if they're just gonna throw out a whole bunch of theories and you don't know which one's right, then I guess they could give it away, but it makes me think that it's not gonna be right if they're just gonna tell me like that.
しい言葉を使われてもわかりませんわ。
つまり怖がりの圭一が見た幻だと言ってるのです。
じゃああのシーンの正体は、圭一さんの後ろにいた謎の気配は何なんですの？
影だよ、引っ掛け。
みーちゃん、引っ掛けってどういう意味？
富武のおじさまが言うようにさ、あのシーンは追い詰められたケイちゃんの被害妄想のシーンなんだよ。
I don't know if I would go so far as to call it a red herring. I think that because like a red herring is something that has no purpose whatsoever, right? Other than to just throw you off. Whereas that, I think it did really represent something. It represented the like effect and the toll that all of the events were having on Keiichi there. So I don't know if I would call that a red herring, even if it turns out that that was just like a paranoid delusion.
それを濃密に書くことで、プレイヤーにたたりだと思わせようとする演出なんだよ。だから引っ掛けってわけ。
それを言われると、でも
まあそういう可能性もあるってことだよ。
だとすると、犯人は複数で村ぐるみっていう劇中の大石さんの推理は正しいのかな？
I'm kind of like imagining, like the way this is playing out, I'm kind of imagining if I'd played the Umineko after this, like you could totally see how the tea parties in that game are totally supposed to be like a almost like a parody of these, or what's going on here. I mean, I shouldn't speak too soon yet because I don't know. There might be like a swerve like in Umineko, but it totally feels like what happened in Umineko was like kind of like a play on what's going on here, and you're totally meant to have seen this beforehand, kind of. Well, you're supposed to like experience this the normal way so that they could like flip it on you in that game. But yeah, I still recognize it having played this one after. It's just it would have been quite interesting if I'd played this one first, and like then I suddenly went to Umineko and had that experience, I guess.
当の本人の大石さんはどう思いますか？
私ですか？悩みますね。
あれ？僕はてっきり大石さんは人間説だと思ってましたけど。
劇中の私は犯人は人間だと断じてますが、人間が犯人だとするといろいろ不可解なことが多いんですよ。
例えばどんな？大石刑事さんの推理を聞かせてください。
まず人間が犯人だとすると、絶対に動機が必要なんです。
I mean, I think these are all things that we can get later. Like these aren't like huge holes in the theory.
こういうことをして誰が得をするのかってことなんです。
つまりおじさま、人間が犯人なら連続開始事件を起こすことによって誰かが得をしなくちゃいけないってこと？
そういうことです。
And I actually do have a small theory about that. Like I'm not even super confident about it, but I have a theory about that kinda. So we'll see, I guess. I'll talk about it after.
ダム開発の関係者が死ぬうちは利害も感じられましたが、近年の犠牲者はそれとも無縁です。第一、前原さんを殺して誰が得をするというんです？
For him, I think that they just had to kill him because he was getting out of control, and that was it, right? Like they didn't want to kill him, but they had to because he was getting too agitated and causing too much trouble and asking too many questions, looking in the wrong places and all that. And part of that was Oishi's fault. which I'm still at this point undecided whether or not that was intentional, whether Ooishi was actually trying to rile Keiichi up intentionally, maybe even going so far as to give him a little bit of false info. I don't know. Or if it's just a byproduct of him wanting to investigate seriously.
なるほど。そう言われると僕も弱いな。
だってお金とかも取られてはいないんですもの。人間が犯人なわけありませんわ。
でもそうとばかりは限らないんじゃない？
You know what, come to think of it, I think that almost does kind of rule out Satoko, at least. Like, I think that if she were the culprit, she would totally steal his money.
さっきみーちゃんが言ったように何かの昔語りの再現そのものに意味があるんだとしたら、
そういうこと。これは営利殺人じゃないんだよ。きっとこれは村の血塗られた歴史を再現するための何らかの儀式的殺人じゃないかなって思うわけ。
Well, there's that aspect too, but I'm also thinking of a more pragmatic reason for all of this.
では聞きますですが、それを再現すると誰か得をするのですか？
Yeah, exactly. Like, I do think that there is somebody who potentially could gain something from this. Well, we'll see.
得をするんじゃなくてもっと心理的なもの。僕は何かの復讐じゃないかと思うね。土着的な何か。今回のシナリオでは語られなかった因縁だよ。
I think he's hinting at something that will be expanded upon later, but that won't actually be the real reason behind everything.
なるほど。過去にひどい扱いを受けた暴家の人たちが先祖の恨みを晴らすためにってな感じですか？
Like, I'm sure something like that will be the case. Like, something like that will probably exist in some form, but I don't know that it will necessarily be the actual reason behind everything.
私はそれにも反対ですね。
じゃあ何？大石さんはまさかたたり派なわけ？
そうですわ、そうですわ。
Well, at the end there, it kind of seemed like he'd turned, and honestly, from the way he behaved in that, like him being the only person to see Keiichi's real, final testament, and potentially have even messed with it a bit, I don't know. I think that he might have had a bit of a change of heart at the end.
刑事役の大石さんが言うんですもの。たたりに決まってますわ。
劇中で前原さんが言うように、親代様が竜宮さんや園崎さんに乗り移って悪さをしているって考えると、一番辻褄が合うんです。
It certainly would explain a lot of inconsistencies, or seeming inconsistencies, but I don't believe it.
残念ながら。
実はレナも大石さんと同じ意見なの。あんなに優しかったレナやミーちゃんが突然おかしくなるなんて、そうじゃなきゃ説明つかないもの。
そこはミオンの私が言うのも変だけど、やっぱり私なんだと思う。
It's always nice, like, I actually like this version of Mion, where it's like the logical version of her, where even she's like able to disassociate herself from the idea of it being like her, I guess. I don't really know what I'm saying here, but it's like when she doesn't have the baggage of like all her potential motivations and stuff in the story, where she's just like a character distilled to like what she's about here, then it seems like this is kind of like the side of her that I actually do like, and almost like this is kind of like the treatment that all the characters are getting here, where they're all kind of like divorced from their actual story roles. So they just get to like be themselves as characters, sort of, I guess. I don't know, I'm like obviously way overthinking this.
ミーの話の意味が分かりにくいのですよ。説明が欲しいのです。
ああ、ごめん。つまりさ、これってすっごく残酷な話なんじゃないかって思うんだよ。
何みーちゃん。それってひょっとして。
突き詰めるとそうなるのかな。僕もちょっと疑ってる。
I'm not gonna jump the gun and say that all of them are responsible, but I think at least one of them, maybe two, are gonna be responsible for some of those deaths. It's just that's how it's gonna be. There's no way that all of them are gonna be innocent. And it might even turn out that none of them are innocent. I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
つまり竜宮さんも園崎さんも実は本当にああいう性格で引っ越してきたばかりの前原さんを騙している悪魔なんだと、こういうわけですか？
そんなの嫌ですわ。これは全部たたりの仕業なんですのよ。レナさんもミオさんもみんな優しい、いい人がいいのですの。
I don't think it necessarily has to be one or the other. Like, I think that you can be kind and nice in one situation and then also not in another situation, just depending on the circumstances.
レナもそうだな。レナやミーちゃんって本当にいい人なんだって思う。きっと劇中で出てきた厳しいシーンは何かに取りつかれてたんだって思うの。
If they're possessed by anything, I think it's the circumstances that led them to be that way, I guess. But I think they are actually good people at heart. At least I believe so. We'll see, though.
レナもタタリ派か。じゃあタタリ派の皆さんにお聞きしますけどさ、タタリが怒るからにはそれなりの理由があるんでしょ？無差別にたたるとは思えないな。そこんとこ説明できるの？
たたりはたたりですもの。人間の考えでは想像もつきませんわ。
さとこちゃん、擬人化された神様という存在は結局は人間の生み出したものなんだよ。だからその考え方も人間に理解できるようにできてる。ギリシャ神話の神様を見てごらんよ。泣いたり怒ったり嫉妬したり、とにかく人間的なんだよ。
つまりお社様もまた人間同様に何らかの利害に基づいてたたりをしているということですか？
I don't doubt that there's gonna be that angle to it, where we can start looking at things in terms of like how Oyashiro-Sama as an entity benefits from all this, but I don't know. That almost seems like a waste of time. I'm probably not going to be looking at things from that angle, at least not unless things like really start to go in that direction, I guess.
変な言い方になっちゃったけど、つまりはそういうこと。
触らぬ神にたたりなしって言いますからね。なははは、一理あります。
つまりお社様にせよ人間にせよ何か理由があるはずということなのです。
でもリカ、その理由がはっきりしないならどうなりますの？
つまりはわかんないということなのです。そうだね。まだプロローグだもんね。明かされていないことがたくさんあるだろうし。
そうだね。現時点ではこれ以上の推理は難しいね。
but at the same time, there's so many like really tiny, seemingly inconsequential details that I've been looking back at the tips and stuff, and I've kind of picked up on a few things that I think there is actually room to not put everything together at this point, but put a lot together. So, I don't know. We'll see how on the mark I am as things go, but we'll talk about that after.
いんにゃ。白黒つけないと納得できないな。
ミオンさんもこだわりますのね。
限られた状況で最大限に推理する。ちょっぴり部活感覚で面白いでしょ。
そう考えれば面白いかも。
じゃあ整理してみましょうか。私はたたり派です。富武さんは人間派でしたよね。
ええ、僕は人間が犯人ってことでいきます。
私も人間犯人説。もちろんタタリというファンタジーは嫌いじゃないよ。だけど今回の事件に限ってはタタリの線は薄いね。
人間派が2人出ましたね。リュウグさんはたたり派でしたよね。
はい。レナとサトコちゃんはたたり派です。
What, so are they just gonna solve this with a vote? And of course Rika's gonna be the one who decides it all.
ええ、たたり派ですわよ。レナさんやミオンさんのことを悪魔みたいに言う人の方がよっぽどたたりに合うべきですの。
そりゃあまあ、私も自分のキャラがそんな悪魔みたいなやつだとは思いたくないけどさ。部活モードの時にはクールでなきゃ。感情論だけで選ぶと大やけどするよ。
まあまあ、どっちを選んだっていいじゃないですか。
あれ？リカちゃんがまだだね。どっちだと思う？僕はお社様が悪い神様だとは思わないですよ。
あれ？面白い意見だね。
たたってばかりの悪い神様なら祀るのは嫌なのです。
Yeah, but Oyashiro is supposedly responsible for miracles and curses, so I don't know.
僕はたたるよりご利益のある神様の方が好きなのですよ。
But then again, this is almost like similar to how Rika was in Umineko, where it's like she's working towards, well, I don't know. Like, I guess we're not necessarily far enough to say anything about her goals yet, but in that game it seems like she's working in a way that's like contrary to the goals of the enemy of that game, sort of, but in a way that still aligns with their goals. And that's kind of like what's going on here, where it's like she's saying that Oyashiro-Sama exists, but maybe is talking about like ways that him existing could actually be beneficial to the idea that there's a conspiracy or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, let's keep going.
そっか、リカちゃんって巫女さんをやってるんだよね。うん、いい意見。
じゃあ何？リカちゃんはお社様じゃないって思うなら、やっぱ犯人は人間って思うわけ？
そういうことにしますのです。
ありゃまあ、票がざっくり分かれましたね。たたり派と人間派で半々ですか。
どうすんのさ。
Alright, they still need Keiichi to show up.
これじゃ意見は半々。決着がつかなくて面白くないよね。
裁判官が奇数なのはつまりそういうことだからね。あと一人意見が欲しいな。
あ、ならちょうどいいかな。ケイチ君本人に聞いてみない？電話で。たたり殺された本人の意見は貴重ですよ。
そ そうと決まれば早速電話ですわ。
もしもし、ケイチくん、レナです。今お仕事お忙しいですか？
ああ、忙しいぞ。シナリオが1本終わって一休みって思ってたらすぐに次のシナリオだもんな。
ケイちゃんどんな感じ？忙しいって？
拗ねてる。
聞こえてるぞこら。お前ら打ち上げ会でいいよな。俺も出たかった。
収録の残りセリフ数で僕たちの誰か一人でも抜いたらケイイチも参加できるのですよ。
Well, I'm pretty sure he does get character art at one point because I think one of the chapters has him as the focal character with the art on the front, but I don't know if they ever actually use that in the game.
リカ、あの量でそれは不可能ですわ。
あ、それでごめんねケイチくん。今回のシナリオでね、ケイチくん死んじゃったじゃない？犯人は誰だろうねってそういう話をしてるの。
つまりさ、ケイちゃんを殺したのは人間かお社様のたたりかってことで意見が分かれちゃってるのよ。
本当にごめんね。台本読みで忙しいところ。ケイチくんはどっちだと思うかな？
そんなの決まってんじゃねえか。
どっち？
どっちなんてもんじゃねえよ。村の怪しげな奴らに狙われて、さらにお社様とかいう怪しいのにたたられて。
I guess that's one way to look at it.
人間もたたりも全部これは何かの嫌がらせか。
かわいそかわいそです。今度頭をなでなでしてあげますですよ。
結局意見が分かれちゃったね。
私ももう一度考え直してみます。見落としがあるかもしれませんので。
それでは引き続き日暮らしの泣く頃に睡をお楽しみくださいね。
Well then, it seems like that's all for Onikakushi. So, is that really everything? Yep, looks like it. Alright then. Well, we don't really have, much else right now, so I'm gonna start going into my thoughts and theories on everything that happened in this episode, and I have that kind of organized in a certain way. So I'm actually gonna do some editing this episode and try and have everything kind of organized nicely so that you can see all that nicely while I'm explaining. So I will be right back, and the next you hear from me will be my thoughts on Onikakushi. Alright, where do we begin? So, you may notice that I've organized things here in a bit of a strange way. Now, I don't know how many of you have played the Professor Layton games, but there's something that those games do that I really like, and that is they organize all of the mysteries, all the big questions of the game, and they organize them all in one big list where you can just look at them individually and kind of consult each of them as new information comes up. And I always really like that format, so I'm trying to imitate it a bit here. So as you can see, I have 13 little categories here, and each one is a sort of mystery or question that I have determined is something that seems kind of strange or unexplained or something like that. Something that we need to figure out the answer to, basically. And some of them might be dead ends. They might not actually have answers. Their answers might be completely different from how I'm framing it in the way that I have framed it currently, but this is just the way I have it set up right now. Depending on the information that we get, they could change in the future based on what becomes relevant, what becomes what information becomes available to us, and they could also, like, I could solve a few of them, just knock them right off. In fact, I think one of them might end up being solved this episode. And I could also get a few new ones as more questions pop up in future chapters. So, just to quickly list through these before we actually go through them in depth. We start with number 1, which is Oyashiro-Sama's curse. That's going to focus all about Oyashiro-Sama. Then we've got number 2, who is Tomitake? Because there seems to be more going on there, and we don't quite know exactly who he is. He might not actually be anyone important, but there's stuff to talk about there, I think. And we've got number 3, the Watanagashi. What's going on with the Watanagashi? Because I feel like there's stuff involved with that whole festival and ritual and all that, and I feel like there might be stuff there that's worth examining closely. So we're gonna pay attention to that in the future. And number 4 is going to be the dam murder. That's going to be everything involving the dam murder. We want to figure out all of that. So hopefully we can figure out, who the culprit was, what happened to the person who disappeared, all that. Then we've got the Houjou couple accidental deaths. That is number 5. That is, well, we already know about that. That's that's Satoko's parents and what was going on there. So we'll go into more detail when we examine that one. And we've got number 6, the Shinto priest death. Supposedly died from illness. We'll see about that. Then we've got number 7, the Housewife Murder and the disappearance of Satoshi. That's all going to be wrapped together in that mystery. And then finally, we've got number 8, Tomitake's murder. So that's the one that took place in this chapter, so obviously we have a lot more to go over when it comes to that one compared to most of the others, because there's a lot of stuff in this chapter that we're probably not going to get any more details of in other chapters about. But that might not actually be true, we'll see. Then we've got number 9, Rena's former school incident, because I feel like there's stuff going on there which might be elucidated upon in the future, and there might be stuff that we learn there that helps us figure out, I don't know, I feel like there's more to learn there than what we know, and just like talking generally about like what happened with that is something I want to do. So next we've got number 10, the Village Information Network. This one might seem a bit weird, but I put this down because I feel like there's something going on with the way people know things in this village. Like, for example, Mion knowing things, Rena knowing things, and it might turn out that that's all just nonsense. It might turn out that that's nothing. It might turn out that each one of those things has like individual explanations, but we're going to examine and talk about all of that in that category, basically. So that's how that's going to go. And we've got number 11, and that's going to be Keiichi's death. So Keiichi's death is we're gonna talk about all about how Keiichi died, all the circumstances that surrounded that, potentially any mysteries about that. So next we've got number 12. This is going to be the very first scene in Higurashi Chapter 1 Onikakushi. The very first scene where it seemed like we kept hearing this sound like he was like hitting something. My theory at the time was that he was burying somebody, so we're gonna try and figure out what that's about once we go into that. And finally, for real this time, we've got Onigafuchi. This is not actually referring to the town of Hinamizawa when it was called Onigafuchi. This is referring to the swamp that several people have disappeared around, because I think this might actually be a an important thing, possibly. I don't know. We'll talk about it after, but... yeah, alright. So, all that, and now we can begin. So, number 1, Oyashiro-Sama's curse. So, what we want to figure out here is Oyashiro-Sama real? We're gonna go with no, he's not real, but in that case we have to determine, like, what's everything that's attributed to Oyashiro-Sama. We need to figure out what's going on in each of those cases. So, let me just list the notes that I have here. These are all the things that we know about Oyashiro-Sama here. So, he's the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. He's said to bring about both miracles and curses. And, next, his curse is every year on the day of the Watanagashi, somebody dies and someone is demoned away. And this is Oyashiro-Sama's curse. So right off the bat, what I think is going on, it's got to be like a village conspiracy, right? That's the most obvious explanation. So, there are some questions about that. Like, do the leaders believe in him? Are they intentionally manipulating people to using his name? Like, or do they not believe in him? Mion said that she doesn't believe in him, so I think that actually might be true. It might be that she is in on this, and, well, to some extent anyway, she's in on this conspiracy, whatever's going on. And they might be using Oyashiro-sama as a way of manipulating the village. There's a rumor going around that if you don't attend the Watanagashi festival, you'll incur Oyashiro-sama's wrath. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the Watanagashi section, but yeah, I think there's some stuff going on there. According to Tomitake, Keiichi clearly loves Hinamizawa, so he thinks that he wouldn't become a target. So basically the idea here is that if you love Hinamizawa, you wouldn't be a target of Oyashiro-sama. But the idea that Tomitake said this, I don't know, I took note of it because I think he was talking about it when Miyo and Tomitake were talking to Keiichi by the river. Tomitake said that. He said, clearly you love Hinamizawa, so you wouldn't become a target. It almost makes me think that, like, he's in some kind of, like, position to maybe decide who targets could be. Which also brings up another angle to this, which I'm not, like, 100% sure on, but there might actually be multiple factions at play here. So it might not just be one conspiracy, but several conspiracies going on here. And some of them might be, like, interfering with each other in some way, or opposing each other, but also, like, all using, like, Oyashiro-sama's name. I don't know. There's a lot of, like, potential complicated ideas going on there. Ooishi asks Keiichi what he knows before revealing anything about the string of murders. This is kind of suspicious. Like, I know that, well, we'll talk a little bit about Ooishi more later, but I'm starting to be a little bit suspicious of Ooishi, because Mion claimed to Rena that Ooishi is the messenger of Oyashiro-sama, and obviously that could just be her trying to, like, scare Rena away from listening to Ooishi. That might be one thing, but it's also possible that Ooishi actually is someone somewhat, like, related to this whole Oyashiro-sama thing going on. I don't know. One other thing to take note of is none of the perpetrators arrested for the crimes in this Oyashiro-sama string of murders had direct connections to the village. So they were all kind of like people who were either outsiders or, I don't know, like they were all people who weren't really like people high up in the village, I guess. Which makes me think, we'll go into more detail about this in the other sections, but it makes me think that actually the higher-ups in the village might be using the people lower down on the peg as scapegoats somehow, and they might even be using like drugs of some kind to accomplish that. I don't know. Onikakushi is said by Mion to be something separate from the curse, so that's one of the things that makes me think there might be multiple factions going on, because like maybe the Onikakushi is something that's not done by the people who believe in Oyashiro-Sama. Maybe that's something that refers to something else, like something done by another faction. I don't know. Finally, we've got Rena, who believes that she's violated some kind of taboo, but Mion says that that was a long time ago. So we don't know what taboo that she violated, but it's definitely something that it's going to be something that has to do with the village, right? Like maybe because she left the village a long time ago, that could be it, or maybe she tried to defend one of the victims. I don't know. I have here listed that Hinamizawa used to be called Onigafuchi, Onigafuchi, a village of demons who would choose a single target and hunt them down together. So according to Ooishi's grandmother, you must never interfere with the demon's hunt, meaning that basically you should look away from whatever the village conspirators are doing, is the idea there, I think. Next, I've got some interesting things that I took note of after kind of like going back and rewatching things. One thing that I definitely took note of is the school is being rented by the forestry services. Now, there was, when Rena and Mion were at Keiichi's house, they mentioned a director of some sorts. So, I don't know. There's like, Keiichi initially thought that maybe this could refer to the construction foreman from the dam murder, but it could also be, like, potentially someone from this forestry services, which is actually pretty suspicious because the forestry department would have been flooded by the dam. It was listed as one of the departments that would have been flooded by the dam. So it makes sense that whoever's in charge there would be a major party in the conspirators who opposed the dam construction. And this would also explain why the teacher, who works for the school, would be in on this as well. One other thing, which I didn't actually note down anywhere, but I'm just remembering now, they gave us a fairly intricate backstory on the principal of the school, and I don't think that that's all going to be just comic relief. I think that the principal is probably going to come up later as an important character, and we're probably going to learn more about the principal in some way at some point. So this conspirators, or this group of conspirators that I think is responsible for this, might have something to do with someone named Keiichiro Kimiyoshi. So he is the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance Committee chairman, and he's posted a few notices in the tips, like for example recruiting Lil Festival drum dancers, for the Watanagashi, and also he was soliciting for ideas for ways to improve the festival. And I think that Kimiyoshi is the most suspicious person at the moment. I saw their name somewhere else. I think it was, it had something to do with, I think the reason why is because it says Onigafuchi Defense Alliance Committee, and the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance is the thing that was, that was the name of the protests that were formed during the dam murder, or the time of that anyway. So I think that if anybody would be responsible for that, right now my theory is that probably has something to do with the forestry department, and this Keiichiro Kimiyoshi is the most suspicious person right now of being the leader of that particular faction, I think. Also, it's worth mentioning the Sonozaki family is extremely influential, and they've got the prefectural assembly member, city councilor, and also the mayor of Hinamizawa. So I think that anybody who's associated with the Sonozakis is going to be suspicious as well, and I don't necessarily think they're the ringleaders of all this, but I definitely think they're heavily involved. The only question is, if there are multiple factions at play here, which side do they fall on? I don't know. Yeah. So I think that covers it. Everything I have down now for Oyashiro-Sama's curse. So let us move on now to number 2. Who is Tomitake? So, the name Jiro Tomitake is clearly, as established in the police report, not his real name. It is a pen name. So, one thing that's kind of suspicious is that when Keiichi was shown his picture, he assumed that it looked like it was taken at the DMV, but in the police reports, it turns out that Jiro Tomitake does not have a driver's license. So, right now, there are two possibilities I'm thinking of for this photo. I think that either this photo it could just simply be a photo taken of the dead body, but I think that Keiichi would probably have noticed that. He did say it was expressionless, or expressionless and half asleep, but I don't know, I think he would notice if he looked dead. Whereas, oh yeah, and the reason I think that is because they specifically mentioned in the tips, where, the one where they actually discovered the body or whatever, they specifically mentioned that they were going to take a photo of the body before the doctor did his thing or carried away the body or whatever. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is that he is actually an important person related to the dam murder back in the day. And we can talk about that a bit more when we get to the dam murder, but that's also one possibility I've been thinking of. Apparently he held residence in Hinamizawa for 1 week each season for the last 5 to 6 years, and I'm thinking maybe that has to do with the Higurashi season, because, wait, 1 week each season, never mind. So yeah, actually that includes, like, all 4 seasons, so he basically comes each season to, take pictures of birds, I guess, is the idea. But anyway, I think that, when he said that, he happened to be during Hinamizawa during the time of the dam murder, he did say that, so, I don't know, I think that might be a little bit suspicious. There's also, another thing that I'm not quite sure about, which is his relation to Miyo. Was she really just his friend/girlfriend, or was there something else going on there? Was she, like, maybe, like, blackmailing him? I don't know. That's just, like, a spitball out of nowhere. But, like, it seemed like there could be more going on with their relationship than just what meet the eye, so I don't know. So, I think that's all I have for Tomitake right now. Number 3, Watanagashi. So, there's a lot going on here, but the few notes I have here are that invitations were sent out to neighboring towns' youth groups to help pad the numbers, but few were interested. And I think that might be, I don't know. Like, I guess that might just be, like, people wanting the festival to be a success and all that. But I think that could also be, like, code or something. I don't know. Well, my thoughts aren't fully fleshed out on this, but I feel like the idea that, like, people are leaving Hinamizawa because they don't want to deal with all the, like, crazy stuff, and then people are, like, trying to, like, send out people to, or, like, invitations and stuff to get people to come back and do this festival. It seems like it would benefit the village greatly if people attended this festival for some reason. And I'm not 100% sure on why just yet. I have noted here that several plainclothes police officers were sent to the Watanagashi to make sure things were okay. I wonder if maybe Kuma-chan or Ooishi were one of them. I don't think so. I think that Ooishi was not one of them, but he might have been. Next we've got the municipal committee, right? So the municipal committee is responsible for this this whole Watanagashi festival and for the ritual during it. And they seem to be tied to Rika. And I was thinking that if there are any factions at play, I think the municipal committee might be a faction here that's separate from the Sonozakis, maybe. But I could be completely wrong about that. it could be that they're all tied together. I also have noted here the ritual involves a sacred hoe that only the Shrine Maiden may touch, and Mion implies that Rika is the only person suitable for this position, that she herself would not be eligible. So clearly there's something going on here, that only Rika is suitable for this, and it might have something to do with her bloodline, or it could have something to do with, like, village politics. I don't know. I also just have noted here that the ritual involves taking cotton out of futons that are purified by the Shrine Maiden, which is Rika, and balling it up, handing them out to people, and each person then purifies the cotton individually and sends it floating down the river. I don't know why exactly they do that. There could be, like, an actual, like, potential practical reason for that, or it could all just be superstition. I don't know, but I feel like if there is a village conspiracy and they all know that Oyashiro-Sama is not real, if that's like something that the higher-ups know, then I feel like that ritual that they do could actually serve some purpose beyond just its appearance. I don't know. So right now, we don't have any real theories for this one. This is going to be a mystery, just like the Tomitake one, so we're going to leave that one at that. Next, we've got number 4, the dam murder. So, the dam protests were led by the Sonozaki family. Supposedly, the people of Hinamizawa formed the Onigafuchi Defense Alliance, which was supposed to be a peaceful protest, but it was mentioned that actually the government and its puppet company, whoever that is, we don't exactly know who that is yet, but I'm going to be keeping an eye out for any puppet company or potential like company names or anything. They apparently performed some unspeakable acts to quash the democratic actions of the villagers. And that makes me think that maybe the villagers might not be the only ones in the wrong here. And this is another thing that leads me to potentially suspect Ooishi a little bit, because he's working for this, well, the government, basically, and who knows, there could be something going on there. So, the dam construction foreman was dismembered. The motive was said to be an argument they had while intoxicated. 5 people apparently turned themselves in out of guilt, although there was some kind of conflicting information there. But I was thinking maybe these people were potentially decoys. The last perpetrators on the run, if they never identified the body, could the last perpetrator... This is an interesting theory that I had. So could the last perpetrator actually be the dam foreman, and the actual victim was this last perpetrator? I think there's like some stuff here that I need to like actually consider, because I think that, okay, it's not clear whether they actually found all the pieces of the body. Like, I know that they did not find the right arm, I believe. Yeah, the right arm hidden by the leader. They did not find that, but does that necessarily mean that they found everything else? I don't know. It could be that they did not find the victim's head. Maybe they only assumed the victim's identity because of the testimony of all the people who turned themselves in. I don't know. That's one angle to this, and if that happened, if that's true, then we could say that this damn foreman who was supposedly murdered could actually still be alive, and he could be this director that Mion was talking about. But that's not a very likely theory. It's just something that I had I was just shooting it out there. Apparently, a few weeks prior to the incident, the victim had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki. I don't know quite what's going on there, but I mean, I guess it makes sense that she was fighting with the people at the dam. I mean, she didn't want the dam to go through, so. The 6 suspects were at Hinamizawa Dam construction site workroom on the day of the Watanagashi at 9 p.m. That's the information we have there. And at 8 p.m. the next day, or 8 a.m. the next day, a report was filed by the Shishibone Hospital, in which a male suspect alluded to having murdered the victim. So I'm thinking, I wonder, when I hear this, I think, like, could the hospital be in on this, maybe? And that doctor, potentially, that they were talking about, could that doctor be involved? And could they have done something to make the person confess to the crime? Like, maybe given him some kind of drug, or threatened him, or something like that? Or just, like, I don't know, something like... But actually, there are conflicting statements here, where it says, like... hold on. Yeah, I don't have it noted here, but there's another conflicting statement somewhere where it said something like, oh yeah, one of the culprits supposedly stubbornly disagreed with the idea of cutting up the body, right? And he was threatened into doing it, and then he was the one who confessed at the hospital and was arrested. So that would give an explanation for why that person confessed. But is that the truth? We don't necessarily know that. Yeah, according to Tomitake, they still haven't found one of the arms. Like, that's the thing I was wondering. Does that mean they haven't found the head? Have they found the head? I don't know. It was the right arm hidden by the leader who went missing, which they never found. So that, like, I was thinking there could be some kind of, like, bait and switch there, where it's actually the leader never went missing at all, but the leader was actually the victim, and the real quote-unquote victim was actually the dam foreman, or someone else of some sort, who was just faking their death, and maybe they were trying to use the idea of, like, a string of murders as a way to continue, like, maintaining that facade, right? Like, a way of making sure that their death is never, or the fact that they're alive is not exposed, right? Because if people think that all the time, like, this is just a pattern, like, someone dies and someone disappears, then that kind of, like, it kind of makes that first one fit that pattern almost more, right? So it makes it seem like it's, like, that one can't be the odd one out. So, I don't know. That's... I'm not 100% confident on this theory. I just think that that's potentially one angle that they could go with this. Apparently the ringleader of the culprits said he was going to throw the right arm into the marsh and abandoned his car there. We're going to talk about that marsh later, but that's the last anybody heard of him. So, yeah. I also consider the fact that maybe this last victim, or this last perpetrator or whatever, the ringleader, it could have been Tomitake, but I highly doubt it. I think that everybody would recognize him if that's the case. So, including the police, like. And that's the thing. That's why I think that probably the photo that Ooishi showed to Keiichi, it's probably got to be a photo of the dead body, right? Because they didn't know anything about Tomitake. They wouldn't have had another photo unless Ooishi is being a little bit deceptive, which is another angle. Alright. Number 5, the Houjou couple's accidental deaths. So, this happened at the observatory platform in Shirakawa Prefecture. This was not in Hinamizawa, I believe. They were out of town, I guess, at the time. This was at 2 p.m. They disappeared after falling 27 feet, or meters. I'm not sure which one. I just wrote 27 for some reason. But anyway, yeah. The body of the husband was discovered at around 7 p.m. that evening. It appeared that the railing at the observatory they leaned on had broken, causing them to fall. And police investigated from the angle that the deaths weren't accidents, but the motive being that the couple supported the dam construction. But they eventually came up with nothing, so I don't know. So the wife's body never surfaced, so she's still technically missing. Although this one is kind of like, I would find it hard to believe that she is not dead, because why would the husband be alive or die if they both went missing at the same time? I don't know. It's possible that she could still be alive. That would make Satoko innocent, because Satoko was there with her at the time, right? She was there with her parents when the accident happened. So right now, Satoko is the most suspicious, right, for this murder. I think that she is the one who caused the railing to break, and that's that. However, I think it's a little bit suspicious that the observatory staff, they were questioned about the maintenance and stuff, and they found that or they insisted that I don't know, we didn't actually get a conclusion on whether there was actually any foul play there or not, but it did say that the police questioned the maintenance staff on whether maintenance was performed properly or not, which makes me think that maybe, depending on who the proprietors or owners of this observatory are, if they happen to be connected to the Sonozakis in some way, this whole thing could have potentially been planned by them as well. But I think that's unlikely compared to the very real possibility that it's just Satoko who's insane and killed them. Because honestly, just looking at Satoko, you can just her personality and everything, you can tell that she's probably a crazed killer or something, right? If there's anybody who's gonna have some kind of crazed killer transformation like Rena's and Mion's that we saw, it's gotta be Satoko too, right? Granted, a little of that is coming from how she is in Umineko. We know that she's not a very nice person in that game, but we can't necessarily take that as being representative of how she is in this game. It could be that she's actually a good guy in this game, and then in Umineko she's actually completely different. I don't know. But that does it for that, I think. Yeah, so we still don't know who the killer is, but right now I think that Satoko is the most suspicious. And number 6, Shinto priest death. This is I believe either Rika's grandfather or her father. But yeah, actually I think it's her father. Yeah, so at 10 p.m., the Shinto priest of the Furude Shrine passed away after an existing condition he was recovering from suddenly worsened. Now, right off the bat, one thing that makes me a little bit concerned about this is that Rika, during that whole detective game, that clue game, she was like, I like to poison people slowly, which is literally exactly what happened to the Furude Shrine priest. But then again, according to his wife, who was questioned by Ooishi, he was apparently suffering from anxiety issues concerning the festival. Now, it makes me think that if his wife said this, she could have actually believed it, and she could have just been too naive and wouldn't think that her daughter is poisoning her husband. But it could also be that she's the one responsible for this, and she was trying to cover it up or something. I don't know. So apparently the motive that they assumed, the police assumed, was that the villagers expected leadership from the Shinto priests at the time of the dam dispute, but he wasn't proactive. So there was a faction of villagers who harbored ill will toward him as a result. This is another thing where the factions come in. It could be that there's a whole faction involving the Shinto religion or whatever in Hinamizawa, and I don't know, something like maybe the Shinto priesthood or whatever doesn't line up very well with Oyashiro-Sama or something like that. I don't know. I'm thinking this faction might have been the Sonozakis, the faction that opposed ill will to him. But could that mean that Mion and Rika actually oppose each other, or are they actually together? I don't know. So the other aspect of this case is, of course, the priest's wife, who committed suicide, presumably by drowning herself in the bog, but the body was never found. She left a suicide note in the march that said something like, "My death will quell Oyashiro-sama's anger." And several of her articles were found when they dug through the swamp, but not her body, so she could still be alive as well. According to Mion, right before she drowned, she was visited by Ooishi. This is another thing where Ooishi gets a little bit suspicious, because literally every time he shows up, somebody disappears or dies. It's a little bit eerie the way that happens. Almost like he could be doing that potentially intentionally. I don't know. But anyway, at the moment, unfortunately, I don't really want to admit this, but I think that the most likely candidate for the Shinto priest death is Rika. But her mother is also a suspect. And I'm leaning a bit more... I'm going to say it's 50-50 on whether it's her mother or her. But there also could be other options that I'm just not considering. Anyway, this is not solved or anything. We don't know what's going on with the Shinto priest death for now, but that's all I have to say about it. So, number 7 is the Housewife Murder. The Housewife Murder, the younger sister of the Houjou couple, Satoko's aunt, was battered and died. So this one wasn't reported in the newspaper because the case was treated as classified by the police. That was something that probably like an order passed down to them by the Sonozakis. Because I believe they mentioned something about, or no, that was later. Never mind. They mentioned something about how the incident would be dealt with without causing a ruckus and all that. But that probably refers to Tomitake's. So, this one also includes Satoshi going missing. I was thinking that maybe Satoko or Satoshi could have done the battering here. Maybe Satoshi is the one who actually battered his mother, or not his mother, but his aunt. Because he was going around carrying a bat and stuff, right, before that, so maybe the wife was battered by a bat, I don't know. Apparently she was a non-believer. She did not attend the Watanagashi, so that's a potential motive there from the village. And the uncle is still alive, but he moved to the neighboring town. Maybe Shishibone City or Okinomiya, I don't know. I was thinking maybe Ooishi could be the uncle, but I highly doubt that. But, yeah, anyway, the uncle's still alive, and I found that a bit suspicious. I feel like we might actually learn about... We might meet that character at some point. I don't know. Next we've got, according to Tomitake, this is actually kind of interesting. The perpetrator was already caught, and it was just some nutjob trying to continue the legacy of the Hinamizawa curse. And according to Ooishi, he said this is true. Like, they straight up, they arrested somebody, and they already had a criminal record from before. Apparently they admitted to the crime when being questioned about a different incident. And then this man later died in his holding cell. He swallowed a spork and choked to death. So I don't know what's going on there. It makes me think that he might have been like a pawn of the village, like just sent there to take the fall for that. I don't know. Or maybe he really did it. But one interesting thing is that Satoshi went missing after that man was arrested. And this is also after Ooishi started to get in contact with him, and after he started to be kind of friendly to him. Like, I think that Ooishi started doing the exact same thing that he did to Keiichi, where he started talking to Satoshi, like, hey buddy, like, tell me what you know, if you see anything, just give me a ring, you know, and then he starts, like, meeting up with him frequently, so that kind of thing. And that could have pushed him over the edge the same way what happened to Keiichi. So yeah. I don't really know what's going on with this one, but if we're gonna assume that Satoko is responsible for the Houjou couple deaths, then I don't see why we can't also assume that she's responsible for this one. Like, it would actually make sense, to be honest. Like, if she's already a killer, why stop at just one death, right? She might have also killed her brother. But that might not be true, so... For now, that's just a vague theory. We don't really have any clues one way or the other. We'll hopefully be able to investigate that more further later. Alright, so next, number 8, Tomitake's murder. We've got a whole lot to talk about here. Alright, where should we start with this? How about we could start with the motive. So this is something I actually noticed when I was rewatching the Watanagashi ritual. And I noticed that Tomitake actually took a picture. He took a photo during the part where Rika was dancing. And nobody really brought it up, but nobody even seemed like angry or anything at the time, but I thought maybe that could have been like a taboo that he violated, and that could have been the motive for his death. And then I actually later found out from rewatching, I believe, the first time Ooishi talks to Keiichi. He also mentioned something about Tomitake maybe having violated a taboo by taking a photo, which I did not take note of the first time around. So there's that. So let's just go through the facts here that I have listed. So, one of the police's patrol cars discovered the body on the way back from the security detail of the festival. It was discovered at about 11:15 or 11:55 p.m. And I believe the Watanagashi ended at 9 p.m. around there. The location was where the road into town becomes paved down the slope on the shoulder. We're probably never going to get like an actual, more concrete location than that, but I don't know. I noted it down just in case it ever becomes the location ever becomes relevant. So his body was found with his throat clawed out, and the coroner's report found that it was with his own nails. Now here's where I get a little bit paranoid if we start thinking like maybe there's something going on with the police, because when Ooishi is by the way, yeah, I rewatched the tip where the body was discovered, and it was Ooishi there. He's the one who is like, I don't know if he's the one who actually discovered the body, but he's definitely on the scene. He's one of the first few officers there. And one of the things he says is, the doctor has arrived. Now obviously, right, that's probably referring to the coroner, right? But just the way he said the doctor, it gave me the feeling, like the same kind of feeling as what Mion and Rena said when they were talking about their doctor that they called. I don't know. Like, it seems like there could have been maybe this doctor is the same person. And if that's the case, the coroner's report could be forged, right? The coroner's report could actually be completely false. We can't necessarily take this doctor, or what they say, at face value. That could also be why no drugs were found in their system, because it could just be that drugs were found in his system, but the coroner lied about it. That's definitely a possibility. But because this coroner is not a character yet, like, we don't know his name, we don't know anything about him. We might find out later, but for now we don't know. I can't really suspect him or her too much right now. But if this doctor actually, like, if we start finding out things like, actually the coroner works at Shishibone Hospital, and also they once lived in Inamizawa and a bunch of stuff like that, well, then I'm going to start getting really suspicious. But for now, that's just kind of like a wild theory that we don't really need to think about too much. So yeah, no drugs were detected in his system. Some of his fingernails had been pulled out. And I think that actually, that kind of indicates to me that probably he was tortured and interrogated. Which makes me think that maybe he knows something and somebody tried to get some information out of him. I don't know. But he was in a state of hysteria right before his death. Again, that came from the coroner's report, so, I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but also, it's like, take it or, we either have that or we have nothing, right? So, we kind of have to take it as being true for now. Apparently, wounds on his hands matched a discarded piece of lumber found nearby, and there are traces of where he struck trees and guardrails with it. So clearly he was fighting someone off. There were external injuries that weren't self-inflicted. Injuries suggest multiple suspects. So I'm thinking that this is actually probably similar to what happened with Keiichi being chased by those two men at the end of Chapter 1. I think that probably something similar happened to Tomitake, where like a bunch of just crazed men came after him. But, I don't know. So the presumed time of death is between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. And this is after everybody parted ways. So basically there are no alibis. We can't really say that any of our main characters that we know are suspicious on this or are innocent. We don't know. But personally, I don't think any of them are responsible for Tomitake's death. If they are, then it would be Mion, but I don't think it's her. But if any of them are responsible for his death, it's gotta be Mion, I think. One kind of like cute detail, I guess, is that literally as soon as Keiichi walked back into the room in that detective game, after talking to Ooishi and finding out that Tomitake was dead, literally the first thing that anybody says is Rena saying, "Ch1 is the killer." Like, I feel like that could be like the game kind of like subtly or not so subtly giving you a hint there. I don't know. But and also like the way that Mion apparently had the same drug that she claimed was being used on Tomitake. I don't know. The question is, if Mion is in on it, is Rena also in on this? I don't think so because of the way they were talking, but maybe, I don't know, that could have been a ruse. Maybe they knew that Keiichi was awake and listening to them. I don't know, there's a whole bunch of possibilities there. But I just feel like the way Mion talked about it with Rena, as if she only heard some details about it from her family, it seemed like she was not actually personally involved in it. But that could have been a lie. I don't know. Apparently Mion's grandma and the mayor talked to the police beforehand and said they'd take care of whatever happens this year without causing a commotion. That's fine. That doesn't really tell us much. So if we're to take the account that Keiichi saw with Mion and Rena attempting to drug him as real, which I'm assuming so far that everything is real. Like, this isn't like Umineko, where we've got some potentially, like, magical interpretations going on or anything like that. So far, at least I think that's the idea. So, I think that as long as we can take that as real, then I think that we can conclude that definitely there is a drug of some sort, and Mion is in possession of it for some reason, and this is probably the same drug that was used on Tomitake. But other than that, we don't really have any clear information on this, and I have a feeling we're not gonna get much more information on this, because, I mean, if we do any more, like chapters, Tomitake is not gonna be the one killed, and if he is, it's gonna not be the same way, right? So I feel like this is all the information we're ever going to get about this, but there could be still things that we learn later on that could provide a bit more context to this murder, so I'm not going to rule this one as, like, solved or unsolved or anything just yet. We're going to just hold on to this one, and we're going to say that we just don't know for now. But right now, the most suspicious person is Mion, unfortunately, but I'd like to believe that she's not the culprit, and I think that if we rule out Mion, then another suspect could be Ooishi. But, yeah, I don't know. So next, let's talk about Rena's former school incident. There's not a whole lot to talk about here, but Rena was living in a suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. She was suspended from school for breaking all the school's windows. Apparently she went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia and was given weeks of counseling and medication. So, the reason why, or one particular thing that I find weird here, that I have noted down, it doesn't really tell us much about Rena, but I think it's definitely interesting nonetheless, is that Ooishi's story about what was going on with her kind of like had some conflicting details, and his story fell apart a bit. So, at first he said that the counselor's medical report recorded all the conversations he had with Rena, and that's where he learned that Oyashiro-Sama kept coming up. But then, when Keiichi asked him about how he said he saw her chart, he kind of like laughs it off and says like, no, just forget I said that, just pretend you never heard that. And then he doesn't follow up on that at all. And then later on he says that he actually heard that information from a nurse. So, I don't know. Was he actually just lying initially, and he was just trying to like, I don't know, just he didn't want to go into the details about the nurse, or I don't know. But it's possible that he's just making the whole thing up, and that was just his story falling apart a little bit. But, yeah. Other than that, we've got the fact that Rena used to live in Hinamizawa before moving away, and that probably has something to do with why she was behaving the way she did. Unfortunately, we don't know anything about what Rena was like before she left Hinamizawa. We don't know why she left Hinamizawa. It presumably had something to do with her parents' circumstances. We don't know who her parents are. But one thing that I think is important to note is that she left before... I believe it was before the dam murder. Like, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe that she left the Hinamizawa before the dam murder. So I don't know. I think that means that her parents and her probably have nothing to do with that. But could be false, I don't know. So, next, number 10, Village Information Network. So this one has a lot of like weird kind of like paranoid conspiracy theories that I've been thinking about, but let's start with just number 1. The waitress at the restaurant that Ooishi and Keiichi ate at, she had a voice and it sounded a little bit like Mion. Like, it's probably nothing though, because I think that it would be extremely unlikely if that like Keiichi would not recognize Mion, but I don't know. That could explain why, because like Mion said that she often helped out at like her family's businesses and stuff, so if they happen to own a weird like waitress restaurant, then maybe she could help out there. I don't know. I don't think that that's correct though, because I also think that it was mentioned that several people were staring at Keiichi and Ooishi several times throughout their conversation, and that definitely could easily just mean that anybody there could have been spies for the Sonozaki family. And Mion could get the details of that conversation just from that. It could also be that someone was following them. I don't know. But that's another thing, right? Like, it seems like someone is following Keiichi around, and presumably Rena seems to be taking credit for this. But I don't know. Like, Rena knew exactly what Keiichi bought at the supermarket somehow, and they want us to believe that she was just standing behind him the entire time and he didn't notice, but I don't believe that. I find it ridiculous. Like, yeah, he had those, like, flashbacks to his memories where he's like, oh, there was a footstep here that I didn't notice at the time, but it's like, I don't know, that seems like a bit of a stretch. Like, why wouldn't anybody else notice if, like, let's see, if there was a point where he's, like, talking to his parents, and he says, like, Rena is right behind him. Like, no, there's no way that you're talking to your parents and Rena's right behind you, and they don't see her. Unless she's, like, literally obscured by your figure, but that's, I don't know, I just find that a little bit ridiculous. I don't think that that's actually true. So I think that she's getting information about him in some other way, like maybe there happened to be someone there who was eavesdropping, or something like that. Or she happened to be there by hiding, or something, I don't know, but I don't think she was just standing behind him the entire time. One interesting thing, so a detail I noticed very early on that I didn't really make note of or anything, but Keiichi mentioned that he had a cordless phone, and I was like, and this was the first time he talked to Ooishi. He took the cordless phone up to his room, and I was like, that's kind of weird, because I think that in the 80s, like, would they have cordless phones? So I looked that up, and yeah, it turns out they did have cordless phones in the 80s, because I remember growing up in like the early 90s, and cordless phones were kind of a new thing. Like I remember getting one and being like, it being kind of like a novelty. Like it wasn't something that was just like something that everybody had. So yeah, like I think that that's a significant thing. So I looked that up, and it turns out that they were actually invented in like I think like the 60s or the 50s or something like that, but all the ones before the 90s were actually very easy they were like notoriously easy to listen in on. So, I don't know, like something to do with like the wireless frequency, it wasn't like obscured in any way, whereas later on in the 90s they became much much more difficult to listen in on. So I think that that could actually be something where it's like they're actually tapping his phone. They're actually like tapping into the wireless frequency or something that his cordless phone uses. But then again, I don't know, because one thing that makes me think this might not actually be a thing is that in the CG where Keiichi is talking to Ooishi and Rena is standing behind him, he's actually, like, you can see right there he's using a corded phone. So I don't know, that might just be the graphics not lining up with what he said, or something. I might just be missing a detail there where he actually like picked up a corded phone in his room after using the wireless one. I don't know. That could actually be like when he used that phone and they heard Oishi's voice or something like that. That could be what triggered Rena to go visit him. I don't know, because it seemed like she started to visit him every time that Ooishi was on the phone. And if she lives nearby, it might not be too hard for her to, like, listen in on his conversations. So yeah. Also, when Rena knew exactly what happened when Keiichi first met Ooishi, I believe personally that is the teacher who told her that. And I don't know who else the teacher told. Maybe everybody in the class. Maybe just Rena and Mion. I don't know. But I think that the teacher, she has a graphic, she has a portrait, she's going to be an important character at some point. I don't know. So, number 11, Keiichi's death. We don't actually have a whole lot to go on here. We know that there was a man in a white coat. Presumably that's the doctor, but we don't know who that is. It could also be the director. Maybe they're the same person, I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. We don't know anything about that right now. Also, we can confirm that a drug was probably involved in Tomitake's death because of what happened with Mion and Rena beforehand. But I think what might be the case is that Keiichi was also injected with that drug. Because he never said that he wasn't, right? He said that he was being held down, and then it seemed like he was injected, and then everything went black, and then it turned out that he'd killed Mion and Rena. But it could be that he was doing that under the effects of a drug, and they just didn't expect him to do that. So I don't know. Yeah, but he tore out his own throat and died of blood loss, and we don't really know what's going on with that. Maybe we'll be able to figure out that based on information we get later, but for now, right now I'm just assuming it was drugs, and that was that. So, number 12, the very first scene. This one I think we might actually have the solution to. So I think this was a bit of a misunderstanding on my part, because when you play through this scene, you can actually see this CG here, where it looks like there's like clouds up in the air, and for some reason, just because of that, I assumed that this scene was taking place outside on like a hill somewhere or something. I don't know why I assumed that, but that's the thing that came into my mind when that scene happened. So I thought that like because it's taking place outside, clearly he was like burying someone or beating them up or something. I don't know, like beating them to death outside or cutting them. I don't know, something that you would do outside in like a what would you call that? Like a remote place, right? But I think in reality, this is actually just him beating Rena to death with a bat in his room, and the CG, the sky just it happened to throw me off, but it didn't actually represent anything. It was just the sky outside. Yeah. So I think that we're probably not going to get any more information about this very first scene. And I think I'm actually going to call this solved temporarily, but we might bring it back if we learn anything more about a certain detail, because in the beginning, Keiichi was attending a family member's funeral, and we still don't know whose funeral that was. So, I don't know. But the reason I'm going to call this solved is because all the dialogue happened to line up like so perfectly. Like if you actually like go back and watch it, it lines up so perfectly with everything that was taking place when Keiichi was killing Rena. So I don't know. It just made so much sense for that to be the case. So I'm gonna call this one solved. And yeah. So that's out of all these mysteries, we've got one solved for now. And finally, we can move on to number 13, Onigafuchi. This is the marsh where several people have gone missing. It's called Onigafuchi, or Ogre's Abyss, after the name that Hinamizawa used to have. The depths of the marsh supposedly connect to the realm of demons. But this could actually... I'm thinking that this could actually be true in a sense. Like there might actually be some sort of secret passageway in that marsh. Because several people have disappeared here. And I don't know, maybe there's some kind of like underwater cave or something. Something that just people would not be able to find like normally. I don't know. Like this might just be a dead end. There might not be really anything to do with this marsh. It might literally just be the marsh is hard to find people in, and it's an easy place to dispose of stuff. But I don't know. I'm just gonna say that for now, I think there's more going on here. We've got the last perpetrator of the dam murder who like left their car around here, and then we've got the Furude priest's wife who left a suicide note there. And if she didn't go into the swamp herself and like drown herself, then several of her like belongings and clothes were at least thrown in. So there's that. But both of those could have been a ruse. So anyway, that's gonna cover all of the 13 mysteries, or I guess 12 now that we've ruled out one of them. For now, anyway. But as we continue onward, we might actually get more mysteries. So before we wrap things up, I'm just going to give my final thoughts on all the characters, and then we can actually call it a chapter. And yeah, so let's just move on to my thoughts on the characters real quick. Let's start with Mion. So Mion started off as my favorite character of all the ones that we knew at first, and she's not my favorite character anymore, but I still think that she's up there. I haven't forgotten the way that she is when she's not kind of like in like Oyashiro-Sama mode, I guess, would be the way that I describe that, or like crazy mode, I guess. But yeah, when she's like that, I definitely think that she's the type of character that I like, where she's almost like the Kirie of this game. Almost, not really, but like she's the character who approaches things from like a logical perspective, and that's definitely something that I appreciate. In terms of like how suspicious she is, that's well, we already covered that in the mysteries. Like, she's definitely very suspicious. She's got a lot of stuff going on, and I think we're definitely going to learn a lot more about her in the next chapter, because that one's going to be focused on her. But yeah, we don't have much else to say about her right now. So next, I want to talk about Ooishi. Ooishi, I have a hard time getting a read on. I think that Ooishi is... I don't know, I think that he might just be a sincere detective and just be, like, whatever he says on the tin, you know? Like, he's trying to solve the case before he retires. But I feel like there might be more to him than that. Especially one of the things that makes me really, really suspicious of him is the fact that he was the first one to discover the thing behind Keiichi's clock, and yet he like seemingly tampered with evidence or something. I don't know. It seemed that there's some stuff going on there with him, and I don't quite know what to make of him just yet. It's gonna take a few more chapters for me to really get a handle on his personality and whether I should trust him or not, but it definitely seems like I do think that he does care about Keiichi to some extent. Like, he really did not want Keiichi to die, but I don't know. I also think that he's a bit jaded. He probably has to deal with so much shit from, like, the Sonozakis and the higher-ups and all that, that he's probably thinking, like, look, I'm just gonna do whatever I can, and if somebody else dies, like, it's not my fault. I did what I can, you know? I think that's kind of, like, what he's thinking. Like, he's probably thinking this whole thing is, like, a little bit above his pay grade, and honestly, it might actually be, considering he's, like, the only one who is really investigating this, but it could be that he's actually in on this, and then that all goes out the window. I don't know. But yeah, that's my thoughts on him. Do I like him as a character? Yeah, I think so. But I hate it every time he shows up, because it's like, dude, just don't talk to him, just don't talk to Ooishi. Like, almost all conflict in this entire chapter could have been avoided if he just, like, would have just not talked to Ooishi ever. Just be like, yeah, I gotta go, bye, and just, like, not let him get a word in edgewise, but I know that that's not really Keiichi's, like, that's not what he's like, so it's not really something reasonable to expect. So, next up we've got Rena. What do I think of Rena? Well, obviously, she's not, like, a character that I would normally, like, really like or anything. Like, my tastes tend to be more towards, like, the smart characters rather than, like, the airheads. But I do think that definitely I'm a little bit interested in what's going on with her backstory, and I think that she definitely adds a bit of color, I guess, to the slice of life portions of the novel. So I think that that's fine. I don't know. I kind of, I'm tempted to just not even like Rena now because of that whole needle thing, which may have been Mion or may have been Rena. I don't know, but like that was like crossing a line that like, I don't know. Like, coming at you with a cleaver is one thing, but like disguising like deadly stuff in food is just like the absolute worst for me. Like, I would never eat anything that she ever made ever again. Like, if that was something that she did, even if she apologized like a million times, like that would super not be something that I would ever do. So, next we've got Rika. She's still my favorite character, but she didn't really get much of a spotlight this episode, or this chapter, so there's not really much new to say about her. There was one line that I think that I misread. Not like misread like the words of it, but I misread her intentions of it. When she said, "Don't lose that bat," I thought maybe she was on our side, like, hey, hold on to that bat, whatever happens, you might need it. But after learning that was Satoshi's bat, I think that actually she was like, that's an important bat, like, don't just throw it away, you know? Don't lose it. And I think that that's what she meant by that. Like, maybe she had some kind of attachment of some sort to Satoshi. I don't know. But, yeah, we don't really have much else, at least nothing new to say about Rika. Satoko, probably a crazed murderer psychopath, I don't know. I will be very surprised if she isn't, but, yeah, I don't know. Also the way she's like super conniving, and she like uses her position as like a little girl to get away with stuff. Like, she's shown that she's capable of doing that in class, so I could see her totally doing that in a more overt sense, like playing the victim, crying and stuff when the police come, saying so that they don't even suspect her, when really she's like the most likely suspect. So yeah. Next, we've got the teacher. The teacher, actually, we don't even know her name, but I'm talking about her because I think that she's going to be an important character later, and I think that she's suspicious, and I think that she's in on this whole village conspiracy. But other than that, I don't really know. she has a graphic, so yeah, I don't know. There's not much to say about her. And finally, we have, well, actually, there's another we could talk about as well. First, we've got Tomitake. Yeah, Tomitake was kind of, I don't know how I feel about Tomitake. I feel like his entire purpose in the story was just to die. But it was also like he might end up doing something later. Like, I feel like there's more to his identity so far that we haven't learned yet, and I already gave my thoughts about that in the previous part, so I don't really have much else to say. But do I like Tomitake as a character? He's alright. I don't feel too strongly one way or another about Tomitake. I do think it's a little weird how he was like hanging out with kids a lot, but I mean, in a village this small, what else are you gonna do? And they were kind of being pretty pushy about it, so whatever. Anyway, I think that's everything. We've also got Kuma, I guess, but he's like barely a character. He has like 3 lines, and okay, he has a few more than that, but like, it's hard to tell his personality at all. He's Ooishi's partner, that's all we really know. He might end up being important later, but for now, we don't really know anything about him. We've also got Miyo, who, I don't know, she just really gives me a really creepy vibe. Something about the way she smiles and all that. It's not a sincere smile. It's like a knowing, like, smile of some sort where she's like seeing right into you, and like, I don't know. Just something about that gives me the creeps, and I don't think that she's gonna be, I don't think she's just gonna be an innocent victim in all this. Let's just say that much. I don't know exactly how that will play into anything, but that's really all I've got. So, I think that's everything. Actually, real quick, we totally forgot to talk about Keiichi, who is the main character, so, yeah, that's kind of important. I forgot to talk about him because he doesn't have a sprite, but, yeah, Keiichi, we talked about him before. I definitely like him as a main character. I like that he's proactive, that he's trying to figure things out, and that he is not too slow on the uptake or anything. But I also feel that the way that he ended up at the end of this chapter, I don't know. Like, I don't know where he can go from here as a character. And obviously I don't mean, like, just because he's dead, because obviously I don't think that he's going to be dead next chapter. But I mean, like, the place that his character ended up, it seems more like the place where he would have ended up closer to, like, the end of the story, rather than the end of the first chapter. So, I don't really see, like, where they could potentially, like, go with his character. It feels like they've fully explored everything that he is so far. At least that's how I feel, but I think that this visual novel still has some surprises left in it, and that they're still going to surprise me, hopefully. I'll be a little disappointed if it turns out all the other chapters are pretty much the same, in the sense that Keiichi acts the completely same way. It's constantly just like, Keiichi has some fun with the group for a little while, and then things turn bad, and then Keiichi tries to figure things out, and then there's like the back and forth of like the paranoia and the people threatening him and all that. I don't know. It worked totally for one chapter, but I think like if they do it again and again and again, I'm gonna probably get tired of it. But I definitely liked it for the single chapter. And when I say liked it, I mean I appreciated it. I can't say that I necessarily enjoyed every moment of it, but I could totally appreciate what they were going for there. So, I think that covers my thoughts on Keiichi. So, next time we will actually catch up with the next chapter, which could end up being, it might end up, there might be like a little bit of a break between that, because I actually have to get the next one ready, all up and going with all the right mods and everything, and get them working. And I tried that a bit, but I was having a bit of trouble getting certain parts of it to work, so, especially like the lip syncing and all that. So, we'll see how that turns out. I might be able to get that running and have things like with no break in between, or there might be a week with no Higurashi. We'll see. But anyway, I think that's all I have to say for now. So, until next time, take care, and I will see you then.